Hey. Okay. So this is towards the end of the session. I've already met the dogs and been working with them, but I wanted to recreate this and show you us how to do this. So one of the things we can do when your guest comes in, you can give your guest a handful of treats like this. If your guest comes in, I will not walk too close to the camera, but basically what we could teach the dogs is when a human comes in the house, delicious treats fall from the sky. Now make sure that this human that's visiting is a human that's going to, we should practice with men because the dogs are not reactive to females. And the man should listen. That's a challenge itself. But the man should have, be able to take direction from you and also not be really big and not a really high energy person. We want kind of a mellow person. So the idea is they come in. Now, you probably would want to teach your dogs to stay away from the boundary, and you could teach them to go to the dog bed and stay there. That's a different lesson where we can talk about later. But basically, if they're already at the door, they're in front of you. And for dogs, whoever the leader is in front. So when you're at work, if this is an issue at work and the dog runs up to the edge of the cubicle when the person comes in, they're ahead of you. They see themselves in leadership capacity. So let's say the guest is where the door is and I'm one of the humans. What I would do is insert myself between them and the dog, and I walk towards the dog to make the dog walk away. So she protested, she disagreed with what I was doing. Now once I move the dog back, then I'm going to take one step back and pause. If she comes forward, I would take a step towards her. She stepped back. She sat down, so I took a big step backwards. Anytime your dog sits, take a step backwards. If it lays down, take another big step backwards. But if I turn my back and go to the person, now the authority's pointing this way, the dog will run right up behind me. So the idea is I'm teaching the dog. So what you guys might want to do is put down like painter's tape and make a box around the door, and then practice when you guys come home from work. So that's kind of how I would disagree. And then basically what we could do is we could practice when one of you guys is coming home and one of you is home, text each other. Let's do the door exercise. Then instead of actually letting yourself in, you knock at the door. The dogs rush. Now, when you have two dogs, it's going to be harder with both dogs, especially because it's an open floor plan. So we might want to put one of the dogs away into a bedroom and practice with one dog at a time at first to help them learn this new skill. Now, once I get to the door, I'm going to turn like this, and if this reach makes the dog come over, I stop and I rush towards the dog. And as soon as the dog gets across the carpet or past the line, I stop, take one step back, pause. Just pause a quarter second between each step. And then you might have to do this multiple times. But when you actually reach the handle, make it as noisy as possible, because nobody's going to really do that. Also, you might do this. As these sounds precede you opening the door, you hear the dogs protesting a little bit. And so this causes the dogs to want to come forward, and you want to help prepare them. Just because you hear that sound doesn't mean you can cross the line. So once you invite the guest in, and when you invite it, I would open the door like this, because if it's each other, you can answer with your derriere facing your roommate. Then they come in, they stay behind you. And then when you actually have practiced this enough, then you have the male guests come in. Now the dogs have learned, I need to stay behind the boundary. So the dogs are not starting the experience in the leadership position. Then you hand the person a couple treats and tell them, I want you to go and sit on the edge of the couch right there, and I want you to drop a treat every step. And then they're going to have extra treats in their mouth, in their hand, not in their mouth. I can eat it with their mouth. But basically, now the dogs are going to run over here, and the dogs are going to start associating. When a man comes over, treats fall from the sky. And the man should not try to talk to the dogs, should not look at them or interact with them, and no petting for sure. You can have the man watch this video, that might help them kind of coach them through it. And then the idea is, when they sit down, we're going to play hard to get and wait for the dogs to come to the man. Now if they do, and he feels comfortable enough giving a treat, he should hold it off to his side. Like I mentioned before, front facing is confrontational. Now the dog's not going to be on the couch because of one of the new rules. So, excuse me, so they're not going to feel as authoritative. Right now, a lot of times they probably jump up there and bark at the person. I feel like I'm in my perch and I have more authority. Excuse me. All right, so this is when you have people come in, and then when the dog approaches, they can hold the treat out, let the dog have it, and then let the dog walk away. And try to keep these short. So if maybe there's a male, like the zipper down guy that we know that lives in the complex and come over and spend a couple minutes and then leave, that's good because it's easy for the dogs to deal with. Now, excuse me, one of these dogs has a problem with being in a cubicle at work. And if people approach, Now I think that the dog thinks that I'm in my protective mode. Can you toss me that water? And my job is to protect the humans because, like I said, the humans, well, I didn't say, but the humans don't really have a lot of rules, really didn't have any rules. So these dogs, I think that their job is to be protective of their humans here or at the other job. Marco Rubio drink. Okay, so basically, what we want to do is when people come to our office space, again, if they get up and rush, we would beat them to the punch, get in between them, and march them. If this is the entry to the cubicle, and this is the cubicle, I get here, I face the dog, and I make the dog walk backwards to wherever it is. Now, we can also use tools to help make things easier for us. We might actually take a leash. One of the things we can do is wrap the leash around the leg of our desk and then run it through the handle and attach it to the dog and size it up so the dog can only get to here. So that allows people to come into us, and the leash prevents them from lunging and getting that person or going out. Because when I got here, both dogs ran out I think Goldie or one of them ran out the door and circled around behind me, which is a defenseless position for me. And some dogs will nip. These dogs are not nippers, but that could eventually happen if we don't rectify the situation. Okay, so basically what we do is then we get towards the person and we march them back. And then and again, they're on the leash, so they can't get there anyways, but we take a step back, pause, step back, pause. Then we can actually ask the person, hey, would you mind, can you just toss a treat at her? And if you have people at work that are amicable, that are open to this, you can actually go to each person and just say, hey, next time you're walking by my cubicle, can you just stop and just toss a treat and walk on by? So we do this for dogs that have resource guarding issues. And it's like when a human approaches, they're not here to take my stuff, they're going to make my situation better. Well, right now the dogs think I have to protect my human when somebody comes into the cubicle. I have to let them know that there's a dog in charge. Well, now they just pass by and they're like, hey, Goldie, toss a treat, and then walk on by. And so after a while, the dog's like, when people pass by, good things happen. And after a while, then you could actually have those we don't want them to pass by. Each person maybe give them like 5 treats and tear them in half. And so through the course of the day, they're going to toss 10 treats the first day. Second day, maybe, and then just as they're walking by, they just toss the treat. Second day, come. A little bit skittish because of something I was doing off camera earlier, which is fine, but she came towards me. That was brave. I want to reward her for doing something brave. And again, she feels more comfortable. So see that she's not comfortable, so she's going to get the lint. Come. And I'm extending towards her, and I'm not trying to pet her. I'm not showing her any eye contact. I'm watching her, but if she would look at me as directly I would avert my eyes. So what we're going to do then, after the person has walked by several times, and these should be the people that normally she's most reactive to. And then now they're standing. So we're helping her practice dealing with standing people, because she's usually good with people. She goes to visit other people's cubicle because that's not her territory that she has to defend, and the person is sitting. So now we help her when they have them come in, and now they walk in one step and toss the treat, and then have them walk outside the cubicle about 3 feet, turn around, come back, toss another treat. Do that with like maybe 4 or 5 halves or 4 or 5 treats, so 8 treats total, and then they leave. So that's the second day. And we're just having people come 1 step inside the cubicle, toss, walk outside, 1 step back in the cubicle, toss, and they get basically 4 treats in 8 pieces, and then they walk away. The third day, we have them come in maybe 2 feet. And we can keep the tether if we need to, but eventually we'd like to take the tether away. We'd like the dog to be able to do it without the training wheels. But we use training wheels for a reason, to make it easy for the dog to do it. So eventually what we do is, the dog's just like, when people come in, they give me treats, and then they leave. And they don't try to touch me. They don't seem to be a danger to my guardian. And at home, the guardian is now enforcing rules, petting with a purpose, doing passive training. So we're going to kind of tackle this problem at both ends. So, and if you might get to the point where when they come in 3 feet, they're comfortable. As soon as they take the 4th feet, the dog starts growling or lunging or barking. Well, then we go back and practice at 3 feet. Every dog is going to be unique, and there's no right or wrong formula for this. It's going to be how much we practice it. So it sounds like at one of the guardians' work, she's got a lot of people who'd be willing to help us with this, which would be awesome. And it just sprinkled throughout the day. So all day long, people are coming in, giving me a tribute, leaving. And so now the dog feels more comfortable because they're not coming in and grabbing paper and doing stuff that the dog looks at thievery or some sort of violation. Now we can also do other things where if the people are open to it, if there's something the dog is really reactive to, dogs get over things by literally moving forward. One of the best things you can do with the dog that's fearful about something is have them walk with that person. Now again, I think these dogs are really, it's the lack of rules and structure has confused them into thinking that they need to be in charge of their humans.
and once the humans start enforcing rules like no furniture and things like that, the dogs are going to start seeing the humans and, hey, these women are very empowered and they can handle it themselves. They don't need me to be in charge of them. And then we combine that with the positive reinforcement of people approaching and offering these really high value treats. Now, if your dog is barking or lunging, then we wouldn't, again, we need to move back, and we don't want to toss the treats to the dogs when it's growling or barking, because that's what we call above threshold. We want to practice completely below threshold and keep on pushing the boundary a little bit more until we can eventually get to the point where they come in, and when they go to giving your dog a treat, they should kind of crouch down, and they should hold it off to their side with their palm facing the sky and not say take it or anything like that. Just give it to them. Now, if that's too much for them, maybe what they do is they come in, they tell the dog to sit. When the dog sits, then they throw the treat and walk away. Now again, the goal of the dog is to get the person to leave. Well, if I sit and I get a treat and then the human leaves, well, I feel better and better about that. Now we can do some other things, but I really think the rules and structure are going to go a long ways towards helping with this, and at home. And then by creating the positive associations with people coming in, the dog's going to feel like when people approach, it's a good thing, not something I need to worry about. Now we can also do a similar approach with children. Now, one of the other guardian has, we have two guardians in this basically, in this write-up. And then basically, one of the dogs is really afraid of kids. Well, what we could do is, again, we want to have the dog on a tether. We have to make sure everybody stays safe. So mom is safe, and mom feels safe, the guardian feels safe, and then we know the dog can't get, and you can actually put a piece of tape down. So we tell the child to come in, toss a treat, and then walk away. And if they have multiple kids, have them form a line. The next kid comes up and does that. It's a similar principle for both dogs, but what we're just showing is when a little human approaches, they're not doing it all crazy and loud and sticky and grabby. They're doing it in an orderly fashion. They're tossing a treat and they're walking away. And then gradually we help them get closer and closer and closer. Now it's going to take a little bit of time. These dogs, I think, both have cortisol in their blood. I think they think that their job is to be in charge of their humans, and the humans don't listen to them. It's to stress them out, and they have the stress hormone floating in their blood all the time. And that's why they're just really at their limits. The rules and boundaries, like I said, are going to be a big part of that. Okay, these are some tips and tricks that you can use if you have a dog that's reactive to humans that they don't know who come and visit our home or visit us at work.